The regular season is over and now it's time to prep for the bowl game. But the off the field team building part is the most important. Which draft eligible players are staying? Who could we lose in the portal? And most importantly, who could we gain? Eric Nahlin, owner of Inside Texas, is back to catch us up to speed on all the movements we could see over these next 2 months. Sign up to InsideTexas.com today and receive your first week for free. Link in the description. NFL prospects, portal imports, and exports. What's in store during this crazy cycle? Without further ado, let's get into it. What's up, Eric? And first, to set the stage, how are the coaches and players feeling about the final record? What's the vibe of the team before the players have a chance to shuffle around with the NFL and the portal?
The sentiment around the team is, I would not say excited or thrilled about where the final record ended up, but I think there is a lot of excitement about where they feel they're going. Like a lot of the seniors, they left on the high note. 8-4 is not great, but it's a good improvement over last year, especially on defense. That side of the ball really acquitted themselves well. They left with their reputations intact. That's, some of those guys were on that highly rated 2018 class. They hadn't necessarily filled those promises that they had coming in the UT, but they left on a very high note as far as I'm concerned. Adjusted metrics have, I think, the defense is in the top 10, and you saw a consistent improvement throughout the season. Nobody's satisfied with 8-4, so we'd have to kind of compartmentalize the question. So that wasn't good enough, but I think they were excited about the individual development that they saw, the unit development that they saw, especially on defense. There's a lot of optimism where the program is headed. So in one regard, yeah, they are optimistic. On the other end, I think they feel like there were some missed opportunities this year, and we all saw that.
And before this crazy month plays out, for our NFL players with the option of returning, who is likely to be staying as of today?
Given the improvement, there are some draft eligible juniors or seniors that could come back due to the COVID rules that we're paying close attention to. A guy like T'Vondre Sweat had his best year. He's always been full of promise, but I think this year he was more consistent. Defensive tackles don't always show up in the stat box or the box score, but he was pretty disruptive, and he was a key piece. They were 6 deep at defensive tackle, and he was a key piece this year. He was probably maybe second or third best D tackle, I would say. As of right now, we expect him to come back. It depends on what he hears, what sort of feedback he gets from NFL circles. And, agents are always making runs at these kids, and who knows what they're hearing or what they're saying. Those guys are salesmen. So, but as of right now, T'Vondre Sweat's expected back. The big one I think everybody's waiting for is Jaylan Ford. He put up a year that we hadn't seen, I think, since 2000 as far as linebackers go, with tackles, turnovers. Really came on strong in the second half. We entered the season with high expectations of him, and he went way beyond that, I would say. Right now he's expected back. He's going to be a key piece on defense. Jaren Thompson is the same way. I think Jaren created a few more turnovers. I think his profile would have risen similar to Ford's. Absent, the turnovers, he still had a really good year. The nucleus on defense is looking like it's going to come back intact. Ryan Watts is coming back. So, they're going to have the best pieces on defense returning that I can recall in a very long time.
How are we looking on offense for guys that could potentially return?
Bijan is such a great guy that people hold out hope that maybe he'll return. And not just a great guy, because there's a lot of good guys that go pro early. Sort of the guy that's kind of intrinsic to the university, and he does have these NIL deals. So I think people do. Some people have their hopes up that he might come back, but we're not expecting that. You got to strike while the iron's hot when it comes to the draft, especially as a running back. He's healthy. There's not a ton of wear and tear on him, despite a pretty good workload this season. Just time for him to go. Would there be a path for him to come back if NIL was there? Maybe, but there's only so much you can do there, and there's a lot of positions Texas needs to address in the portal, and I think that that's where the focus is going to be. But great career, what an amazing way for him to go out. Rashawn too, that hurdle just kind of summed it all up for me. And I think on offense, that's about it. Jordan Whittington, I expect him to go to the NFL. We'd always heard if he stayed healthy this year and put together a solid year, he would go. And I think he's a guy that's going to have a lot more value to, maybe like a Bill Belichick sort of coach that looks for that special teams value and the blocking and the doing all the little things the right way, which Jordan does. And then on top of it, he catches the ball, gets upfield. It's a really good player. So those guys are going to be missed. There's a lot of leadership. We're talking about some talented players, but really some of the best leaders on the team too.
And with losing those leadership spots, assuming we don't see these guys in a bowl game, what's the strategy for bowl practice? Are they looking to continue this year's team, or are they trying to open up competition for a preview of next year's squad?
Bowls used to be the punctuation for the season, but really it's the start of the offseason, especially with Texas having a youth movement on both lines, really, the offensive line and the defensive line. They need to figure out edge, and they got to replace Christian Jones and maybe get some more competition at guard. I expect bowl practices to be about getting the youth as much time as possible Stark said in his press conference on Monday, there's going to be a period in the first couple practices where they're basically back to basics, and then they'll start game planning for their opponent a little bit further down the road. But this is going to be a precursor to winter workouts and then spring ball. It's going to be a lot of competition. There's a lot of job openings coming up with these departing seniors on both sides of the ball. Christian Jones leaving, Keandre Coburn. Somebody's got to step up for Anthony Cook at safety. They're going to have to replace the DeMarvion Overshown. Now, there's going to be a lot of competition across the board, but the bowl game is really about getting ready for next year more so than capping off this season.
And the portal has been hyped up all year and should be a lot of fun. On offense, quarterback, running back, offensive line is stable. So how will the portal affect that side of the ball?
Yeah, the portal is such a game changer these days, and it really is sort of a second season. It's in many ways it's more important than the bowl game as far as the coach's attention goes, because you're talking about finding key starters for next season, guys that can help you win games. Fans are going to have to learn that there's a give and take in this. For every time you celebrate a big win like getting Quinn Ewers or Ryan Watts, you got to understand you can be on the other side of that coin too. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about there, speculation that maybe Xavier Worthy will go in. That's been discussed a lot. We've heard that behind the scenes. I've been hearing that since the end of September, early October, that there's a potential there. It's important that you take the previous information that you were given and kind of remind that keep that on the back burner. And last year we saw what USC did with Jordan Addison. There was a lot of talk that he wasn't even going in, but then the second he was in, everybody knew he was going to USC. Well, he's going to be gone, and so they're going to have some cap space, not technically called cap space, but essentially that's what it is. And we know that they were aggressive to get Jordan Addison. I think you'd be wise to stay on your toes with USC out there and having that opening. And of course, they've got that quarterback position to sell too. Is it a foregone conclusion that Worthy's going to go in? I haven't heard that. There are some people that think he's going to be back, and then there's some other people that think he's going to leave. And then another important factor to account for is, who knows what negotiation is going on? Maybe somebody's in his ear to say that, we need to make it look like we're out of here, and maybe Texas comes with a stronger offer or more NIL. Who knows? So I don't know. But what I do know is Texas needs to get another wide receiver at minimum, and likely two, no matter what. And the portal is going to be awash with wide receivers. Recruiting is always about scarcity, and there are just a lot more guys that can play wide receiver that can play other positions. Therefore, there's going to be more options for Texas to pour over. And there's already FCS guys that they're taking a good look at. And, a kid from Missouri went in yesterday. He's good, so they're going to weigh all their options. But Texas fans need to, stay calm. You're going to be a net winner of the portal almost every cycle. This one sets up to be a good cycle for Texas, given the needs they have, given the wherewithal they have to fill those needs. And the fact that we're expecting a lot of options to go in. We're already seeing start to fill up, even though the actual portal window doesn't open for FBS players until next Monday, the 5th.
Wide receiver is going to be interesting for sure. And then on defense, what's our strategy there? Safety, linebacker, and edge?
Defensive needs are going to be key to watch. Pete Kwiatkowski's got a good story to tell after the improvement that the defense showed this season, that, to go along with the track record that he had at Washington and Boise State. How those needs get filled remains to be seen, but we know the main need is probably going to be safety. They're losing a lot of reliability and experience back there with Cook. He was a tough player too. So they'll look at safety. Linebacker, I know it looks like a glaring need, especially losing Overshown, who I thought had a really good year, but they love the young guys. And if they ended up getting Anthony Hill, we could see them taking a pass at linebacker, similar to how they took a pass on offensive line last year, just because they like their class so much. You got Samaje Burrell, Leona Lafau, the potential of Anthony Hill. So, they might stand pat there and let the competition play out. You've got David Benda coming back, of course. Maurice Blackwell is probably going to carve out a role next season. And then you've got a rock at Jalen Ford, assuming he returns. So linebacker's probably in a little bit better shape than fans realize. And I think edge is probably in a little bit better shape than fans realize, simply because they've got the young bucks waiting in the wing. They're going to develop. Barron Sorrell sets a very high floor at Jack. Justice Finkley helps that floor too. And then you've got some really elite athleticism with Jere Bledsoe, Jamon Tapp, and Ethan Burke. Now, they could still go for an edge, don't get me wrong. They're going to lose at least two with Ovio Gofo going in and Devin Richardson as well. Maybe they see another attrition there. If they have a good player that either is a long-term depth piece or a guy that's just off-the-chart starter, I could see them going in that direction. But they do have the young pieces to develop, and fans have to remember what you saw this year isn't what you're going to see next year. Ethan Burke is going to be an entirely different player with a full year of strength and conditioning.
Your portal and team info always gives me a good feel for this year's upcoming squad. And I remember you called the defense was going to make a big jump last season as well, and people were kind of shocked by that, but it turned out to be true. But please tell the viewers where they can stay up to date and preview the new version of the team that's about to unfold.
Man, hopefully they already know it, InsideTexas.com. If not, then this must be their first video. We've got an amazing team over there. We've got a lot of experience covering recruiting in the team for decades combined. So you should come check us out. It's a fun place to be. It's a good community. We'll definitely take the edge off of the slow times of the year. Recruiting never sleeps. Portal's going to be fired up until the middle of January. Once that hits, we're going to be covering the offseason like we did last year. I think a lot of our coverage in the offseason last year came to fruition this season. We're anxious to get that going again.
And that's a wrap on Eric Nahlin. Subscribe to InsideTexas.com to stay in the know. Thanks for hanging out. Watch some more of my videos here. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you want to support quality Texas content. As always, hook on.